The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons. Morning. Welcome once again to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining us this morning. Please don't forget to drop a like on this stream and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And also don't forget to share it to your social media platforms. Hit the bell icon when you're subscribing. You'll be notified of any new content if you click all as well. And we thank you very much indeed for your support in this particular endeavour. We are here to discuss Premier League match day 10 of 38. West Ham United at London Stadium. I've just realised that banner is wrong. So I can always edit this bit out. That's not a problem. None of you will be any the wiser. This is what happens when you sort of like you're running around sort of trying to sort of do bits and pieces. There you go. West Ham versus Everton. There you go. I knew. Taking place at London Stadium tomorrow. So before we go any further, because I have to do this due diligence, just in case sort of people sort of get upset and send me nasty tweets and things like that. I'll get the warning out of the way now. If adult language offends, don't watch this, because I can't lie. I might occasionally let the odd swear word slip out. It is what it is. I don't mean to offend anyone, but if I do, you might want to disappear now, because I might say a few things that you might not like. Anyway, right. So going across the bottom of the screen as I chat away is the officials who will be taking to the pitch at London Stadium tomorrow and probably cocking things up as they go. I'm sure they don't mean it, but it's standard, isn't it? It's bound to happen. Let's just have a little look in the comment section. Oh, look who it is. Look who it is. It's my baby girl, my baby daughter. How you doing, Libby? You good? Martin, nice to see you. He's saying hello. Oh no, I haven't swore yet, Martin. Come on, I haven't started. You're definitely not offended because you're even more potty mouthed than me, so don't even go there. Anyway, right. So let's get into it. So first thing I'm going to deal with, and as I go along on the ticker, you'll see a couple of little facts about the combatants at the London Stadium tomorrow. So keep your eye out for that as well. So my thoughts on the opposition this season. Well, look, just sort of like take a little bit of a step back as well, and just sort of give you my thoughts on Everton Football Club as an institution, aside from the fact of this season. I've got a lot of respect for them. When I was growing up, they were one of the first teams that I really remember being at the forefront of my mind of being a great football team, winning the FA Cup in '84, winning the League and the European Cup Winners' Cup in '85. They were runners-up and FA Cup runners-up in '86, '87. They won the league title again. Since then, they've not really sort of like done too much else. I think they've won one FA Cup since in 1995 off the top of my head. They've had a couple of occasions when they've flirted with the relegation zone from the Premier League into the Championship. They've got away with it a few times. They've gone pretty bloody close. And so, you know, they're a club that's steeped in history, steeped in success, steeped in tradition, but over the last 30 odd years have probably been living off of scraps for whatever reason. So now if I sort of like say about my thoughts on the opposition this season, a pale imitation of what they used to be. pale imitation of the team that I remember growing up of, Neville Southall, Kevin Ratcliffe, Peter Reid, Kevin Sheedy, Trevor Stephen, Gary Stephen, all those guys, Andy Gray. It's a shadow imitation of itself. If we just have a look here, and we'll get it up because obviously we need to sort of like have a little bit of context as to sort of where we're at, respectively. I mean, for us, I mean, look, well, I'll come to us in a minute. If we look at Everton, there they are sitting at the bottom, towards the bottom reaches of the table. They're in 7th place at the minute. They've won 2 games out of their 9. Those 2 wins that they have got thus far this season came against Bournemouth, who I think it's fair to say themselves are struggling. That was at Goodison Park by a scoreline of 3-0 on the 7th of October. Their other win in the Premier League came courtesy of this one was actually a pretty decent result. They went to the G-Tech Stadium, Brentford, and turned them over 3-1, which is no mean feat. I think Brentford are a pretty good team, to be fair. Although I think, they could obviously do with a few more goals. Ivan Toney being missing for them is a big sort of loss. But so they've only won 2 games out of the 9. And there they are. They're what, 3 points away from being in the bottom 3 again. And I think it's going to be a long season for them. So that's my thoughts on Everton. They're not that good. They're really not that good. If you was to sort of like say to me, who's their star player? Do you know what? I probably couldn't even answer it because I'm not too sure they've got a star player. They've got a manager in Sean Dyche who is, how can I put this? Very functional. He'll get the wins. He'll sort of like grind out results. Bit of a throwback manager, I think it's fair to say. Decent at his level, but I think that for a club like Everton with their history and tradition, I'd like to think that they could possibly get a better manager than Sean Dyche. With all due respect, that's just my opinion, but I just think that's like I say, they're a pale imitation of what they used to be. And like I say, if you look at this season's Premier League table, that probably tells you what you need to know. And then if you take a step back and you look at where they've been over the majority of the last sort of like 20 odd years, and they've had the odd time where they flirted with relegation. Yes, they've got away with it, but this is a club, and they can't afford to get relegated this season. They absolutely can't because they're moving into that new stadium that they're building at Bramley Dock. They can't go there as a championship club. They absolutely can't. That would be catastrophic. And all this comes at a time. This match obviously comes hot on the heels of the untimely passing of Bill Kenwright, their former chairman. Massive Evertonian fan. A lot of people in the game say that he was a gentleman. So there's going to be a lot of emotion involved in this game tomorrow from the blue half of Merseyside. I'm sure they'll want to do their former chairman proud. I'm sure. As for us, I mean, sort of like you look there, we're in 9th. We've slipped down. I mean, sort of like we've got, as you see there, we've got 1 win in the last 5 Premier League games, and our form is starting to be a bit of a concern. Okay, that doesn't include the game on Thursday against Olympiacos because obviously it wasn't a Premier League game; it's a Europa game. But as I said yesterday, winning's a habit, so's losing, and we need to snap out of it. This is a great opportunity for us to snap out of it. As far as our opposition's key players, let me just get rid of that. Okay. Opposition key players, as I say, I mean, I don't really think they've got any real star players. I mean, if you look at their players, I mean, probably, maybe Jack Harrison, maybe Dwight McNeil, someone like that. Calvert-Lewin's always sort of like he's in and out. If he could get a run in the team, I think he could be a star man. He could be a key player, but it's difficult. I mean, so if I had to pick a key player for Everton, I'm probably going to go with Jack Harrison. He's a player I've always liked, watched him. He's a good player, technically very sound, got a little bit of bite about him. Gets about the pitch and not afraid to put a challenge in. But I say if your star player is Jack Harrison, and with all due respect to Everton, with all due respect to Jack Harrison, if he's your star player, that's maybe not so good. But there you go. Like I say, they're very workmanlike. They're very like I say, they're a mirror image of their manager for me. But there you go. Which West Ham player will be the key to a positive result? Well, the answer that, and I thought about this quite sort of intently, because I think most of the time you ask that question, especially lately, you're probably going to mention, say, Jared Bowen. You're probably going to mention James Ward-Prowse. I'm going to say a name that might be a surprise, but I will explain my reasoning as to why I believe he will be the key to a positive result in this fixture. If he plays, of course, which he might not. I don't know what the current situation is with this particular player. I think he will play. It's Kurt Zouma. Kurt Zouma, I think, is going to be the key player to us getting a positive result. Why do I say this? Real simple. The results have started to peter out. The results have started to go south. And this is when a captain needs to prove their worth. This is when a captain needs to galvanize his troops and find a way to get a result in a time when things are starting to go a little bit wrong. So for me, I think that for that reason, Kurt Zuma's the key player for me, in my opinion. You guys might have a different opinion, and you're quite welcome to get that in the chat, and we'll get stuck into that. But I really do think that this is a game where, Kurt Zouma was given the armband at the beginning of the season about David Moyes. And I think that a lot of people might have been happy with that. There were some people that I think would have been quite surprised by that move on David Moyes' behalf. And even since there's been people saying, well, is he the permanent club captain, or is this just sort of like a temporary measure until he's worked out who he actually wants, or if he gets someone in down the track sort of thing? I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is that since the beginning of the season, for better or for worse, whether I agree with it or not, Kurt Zouma is currently wearing the armband. And as I say, it's all very well. It is very, very easy, as it was at the beginning of this season, for you to wear an armband in a team that's playing reasonably well, getting the results. It's very, very easy to be a club captain at that moment in time. But a club captain, for me, really shows what they're all about in times of adversity. I'm not saying that we're in territory of where we were at some points last season and that we were staring down the barrel of a gun, as we were when we went into the Nottingham Forest game, for example. And I think that was a bit of a sort of like a key moment in last season's Premier League fight, which obviously we got out of. But this is the moment for me where I think that a lot of questions will be answered about the capabilities of Kurt Zouma, not as a player, not as a central defender, as a leader, as the choice of David Moyes as the club captain. This is the moment where I think we're going to find a lot out about whether that was the right call or not, in my opinion. But there you go. That's my thoughts. Okay, so let's get on to starting 11s. Starting 11. I'll tell you what, before we get into starting 11s, I'll give you a little bit of a heads up just about obviously sort of team news and things like that. So we know this is going to be a bit of a conundrum for David Moyes. What does he do at left back? Emerson Palmieri's been one of our star performers this season. He got booked in the game away at Villa Park last Sunday, and it was his 5th booking of the Premier League season, which means he's out. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon which way you view it, but both Aaron Cresswell and Ben Johnson, who've had niggles of late, both were on the bench for the Europa League game against Olympiacos, which suggests that they're available. So the question is it going to be one of those two that comes in? Or is it going to be a change of shape? Is it going to be that maybe David Moyes puts someone over there that's not really a left fullback, but it's there to sort of fill the gap in the absence of Emerson? I really don't know. I've obviously got a starting 11 I've gone with my prediction, but it really could go any way. It's possible that David Moyes might change to 3 centre backs. It's entirely possible. I mean, a couple of options. Let's just run through it. A couple of options he could utilise at left back. I mean, to say the obvious two are that if Cresswell and or Ben Johnson are fit, they obviously were fit enough to be on the bench against Olympiacos. So you would suggest that they're very possibly going to be available for tomorrow. Obviously, Cresswell is the natural left back out of those two. Ben Johnson's played there. I actually think he's looked better at left back than he has at right back on occasions, but he's naturally right-footed. So is that putting a square peg into a round hole? Possibly. The only thing I would sort of say is that Aaron Cresswell not so long ago wanted to leave the club, and Ben Johnson in the summer will probably leave the club as well. So neither one of them, I think, are particularly brilliant options. I'd like to see, and it won't happen. It won't happen. But I'm just putting this out there. I'd like to see Ollie Skiles get in. I really would. But he won't. There's absolutely there's more chance of the hole up my arse healing, quite frankly, than there is of Ollie Skiles starting tomorrow. So I think we can probably put that one to bed. As I say, he could change to 3 centre backs and sort of like put someone in as a sort of like a left wing back. I remember a couple of seasons ago that David Moyes, I think it was against Wolves at London Stadium, and you guys can correct me if that's me misremembering, but I'm pretty sure it was, where Pablo Fornals played as a left wing back and actually did quite well there. But that was a different Pablo Fornals to the Pablo Fornals we've got now. The Pablo Fornals that we've got now is absolutely shot as far as his confidence is concerned. It's really sad to see, but that is a possibility. We could also have Maxwell Cornet play as a left wing back if we go to 3 at the back. He could even play as a left back, orthodox left back, if we played a flat back 4. So Maxwell Cornet becomes an option. I said yesterday, I think that regrettably his time in West Ham colours it's done really for me. Part of it's not his fault. In fact, I think a lot of it's not his fault. The injury was very unfortunate. It came sort of fairly early on in his career, and he's just never got going since. But even in the opportunities he had, it's like he just can't stay on side. It's like he's forgotten what the fucking offside rule is. It's quite bizarre. Could David Moyes even put at left fullback either one of Naya Figueroa or Angelo Ogbonna? Now, predominantly, in fact, pretty much exclusively, I believe, as far as West Ham's concerned, Ogbonna has been utilised as a centre back, mainly as a left centre back specifically. But he has played at left back at various occasions in his career. Could Ogbonna shift over there with Aguirre being the left centre back in a flat back 4? Or maybe the other way round. Could Aguirre be the one that shifted out to left fullback with Ogbonna inside him who partners Kurt Zuma? All these are options. And to be honest with you, as you'll see in a minute, I've got a suspicion on which way David Moyes might go. But really, all these things are possible. They're really all possible, with the exception of Ollie Skiles. I think that the chances of Ollie Skiles playing, regrettably, is virtually zero. In fact, it's probably less than zero, if I'm being honest. But that's the left back conundrum that David Moyes faces. You've also got Vladimir Kufal and Lucas Fabianski. Kufal had a muscle injury. I suspect, though, he will be available. But again, you might even be faced with the problem. You could even have a situation where, if Kufal doesn't make it, that maybe both our fullbacks are players who have barely played this season. You might have to sort of like play Ben Johnson at right back and Aaron Cresswell at left back. Of course, one other option, just to sort of pop this one out there, but again, I wouldn't favour this playing at left fullback. Tilo Kehrer, again, the last time I remember him playing was against Leeds United at Elland Road, and that didn't go very well. So I'm not too sure I'd go with that. But again, Tilo Kehrer could play at right back as well as left back. There's so many sort of conundrums, so many sort of subplots to this. There's, like I say, you've got David Moyes as well, a little subplot being the ex-Everton manager. You've got the subplot of Bill Kenwright's sad passing. Could this be a sort of like a motivating factor? Could we get Everton just at the wrong time, that they're sort of like they're going to want to sort of do the memory of Bill Kenwright proud, and obviously they're facing us at a time when our confidence has been shot to pieces in the last couple of games. I don't know. If we look at Everton, we've also got the fact that they've got a little bit of a problem at fullback as well, with the fact that Ashley Young got sent off in the Merseyside derby last week. So he's got a 1-game ban. He won't be available at all. I suspect that as far as Everton's concerned, it will be Nathan Patterson, the young Scottish fullback, that will be involved in the squad. But will he start? I don't know. It could be that he starts in place of Seamus Coleman, but I think it's more likely that Coleman will be the one that sort of like it gets the nod in the starting 11. But you've also got a couple of people that sort of like are going to be missing for Everton, the likes of Andre Gomez with a calf injury. You've got Dele Alli with a groin injury. But then again, to be fair, even if he was fit, he's probably not involved. What a waste of a career that is. That is ridiculous. But yeah, I suspect that Everton will put out a team that will be really tough. Sort of like I don't think tomorrow will be a very good game to watch. I think tomorrow will be quite turgid at times. I think it will be a bit like when we played Sheffield United. It's not going to be great, I've got to say. But yeah, so that's me. I'm going to have a little look at the comments and just sort of see, whilst I've been waffling on, what you guys have you've been saying. Happy's in there. She says she'd take the same result as last season. Yeah, fair enough. Hope you're well, Budgie, and hope you're well, Happy, as well. Looking forward to the weekend. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I knew that was a statement. That's all good. That's all good. They're saying hello to each other. What have we got? But on behalf of the massive game, I'd like to propose Spanneret for moderator. Yeah, well, if she wants to, I'm happy to do that. You know, that's not a problem. I mean, to be fair, I mean, we're only on 177 subscribers, so it's not too difficult for me to do it, in fairness. But oh, if Happy wants to be a moderator, I'm happy. To be honest, I don't know how to do it. I'm guessing it's some sort of setting on YouTube. I'd have to look into it. But there you go. Let's have a little look here. We have too many players that are leaving soon. They aren't the answer. They don't have the same desire to perform. I agree. I mean, you know, as I said with Aaron Cresswell, it's like he wanted to leave in the summer. So how motivated is he going to be to try 100% and knock his pipe out if it's required? Ben Johnson probably knows he's off in the summer. So again, how motivated is he going to be? I don't think that it's a great situation to be in. And I think that perhaps we're realizing now that our squad isn't as strong as we thought it would be. So Moyes hardly used Lanzini when he was due to leave last season, so why should he play these others? I'd rather take a punt on youngsters who, as far as we're aware, are staying with us for the foreseeable. I don't disagree with that statement, Happy. Regrettably, I don't think it's going to happen, as I say, for the same reason why I don't think Ollie Scholes is an option at left back. I think he's an option at left back, but I don't think that David Moyes will consider him as an option at left back, just to make that clear. And she comes in, she says, Kara right back and can see an OG. Well, we'll hopefully not. Budgie, not Oggy, surely. Isn't the point of recruitment to replace older players that have left or are leaving? I agree. I can help you with that, Rob, after the show. I'll explain it to you. Okay, mate. Yep, no problem. And thanks for the offer of a mod. No problem at all. No problem at all. Right. Okay, let's get down to it. Guys, I want your starting 11s. I want your formation. And I want your personnel. Get them in the comments. And we'll have a chat. As far as I'm concerned, I've put a little video piece together to explain my thoughts on the starting 11, despite the conundrums that we've got. And I will then explain my thinking as to why it could happen. But to be honest, it could go anyway, guys. I mean, like I say, I'm trying to get in the head of David Moyes, and that's a very, very dark place to be, as I'm sure you can appreciate. But here we go. Yeah, there we go. That's what I suspect we're going to be seeing tomorrow. I'll explain me thinking. So I don't think that David Moyes is going to change formation. I think that he's just got too stayed in his ways. I think he's got too comfortable playing 4-2-3-1 as his default formation. And as I say, guys, get your thoughts in on what we're talking about here, the starting 11, the formation, and also please feel free to chip in with a retort on what I'm going to say now. So I don't think he's going to change formation. I think I think Kufau will probably play. I think he will risk it for a biscuit. I think that was the reason he didn't involve him the other night, because I think that there was just a slight niggle, and I think that he saw the Everton game coming over the horizon. He obviously knew that there was a problem at left back, and he didn't probably want to have a problem at right back as well. So I think that was the reason that Kufau wasn't involved the other night. Zuma, as I say, he's got the armband. For me, I think this is where he needs to prove his worth. I think this is where we need to see the capabilities, his credentials as a club captain, permanent club captain. And I think he will be partnered by Naya Fagur. It's a real shame that Angelo Ogbonna, in his last couple of games that I've watched him, has made errors that have been the end result has been a goal has been scored by the opposition. It's a real shame, because I think he's been a fantastic servant to the club, but I do look and think that maybe he's just not got it anymore at the top level. Happens to us all. Time waits for no man or woman, but I think it'll be Naya Fagur that will partner Kurt Zuma, and like I say, I had to think long and hard about this, and I could be completely wrong. But I think he will probably go with Ben Johnson. And I think it will probably hinge upon the fact that Cresswell is the one that wants to leave. Whereas I don't believe that Ben Johnson does. And I think that if David Moyes is going to think about it the way that I possibly look at it, then I think he'll probably lean towards Ben Johnson. Because, as I say, I think that you're probably going to get more out of a player that thinks he's going to leave, but thinks there also might be a chance that if by virtue of his performances on the pitch, he might be able to change the manager's mind. Whereas the other player is someone that said they want to go. So I think that if I was David Moyes, I think I would probably lean towards the less bad option, if you will. It's not maybe a good option, but then I'm not too sure we've got any good options, to be honest, because we're either going to have to change formation, put someone there that isn't a recognised left fullback, or play someone that actually doesn't want to be at the club anymore. So that's the reason I went Ben Johnson, rightly or wrongly. I think the defensive shield in front of the back four will be Edson Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse. And then in front again, do I think he's better? He's looking better now that Declan Rice has gone. Yes, but I do think that there are some games where sometimes the technical deficiencies in the game of Thomas Soucek in terms of his passing is against some opposition could be shown up. Now, possibly against Everton, they're not one of those, but I think he'll be in the number 10 position, if you will. On the right, it has to be Jared Bowen. For me, there's no other option. On the right, on Jared Bowen on the right. On the left, it will be, I believe, Lucas Paquetá. Scored a wonderful goal against Olympiacos. He does kind of frustrate me with some of his antics, but he has been really, really good this season. Really good. Fantastic technique for that goal against Olympiacos. Dropped out of the sky. He running onto it. He hits it. That could end up going in Rose Ed quite easily, but the technique was absolutely spot on. The execution was on point and flew past, and it was a goal that really, as far as its aesthetics is concerned, it should have been the winning goal, but unfortunately it was a consolation goal. Real shame. And unfortunately, I do think it'll be Michail Antonio playing as the striker, and the real simple reason that is, as I say, I think that it was all hinged on if Kudus started against Olympiacos. I thought if Kudus didn't start against Olympiacos, then that would probably be a little bit of a clue that he would start in the following game. Kudus started against Olympiacos. That's what makes me think it's going to be Michail Antonio up top. Do I think it should be? No, I do not. I thought Kudus looked bright. I thought he tried. I thought that he faded towards the end, and I think that's probably because he hasn't got the minutes under his belt that he otherwise would have been expecting. But I do think that he will start on the bench. I think it's the wrong decision, but I think that's what David Moyes is going to do. But there you go. Let's have a little look at the comments and see what we've got. Just having a little wee look. Happy comes in. She says, we need 3 points tomorrow because things are going downhill rapidly. That is absolutely true. We do, as I say, winning is a habit, so is losing, regrettably. Happy comes in with her team. She's put Ari, Kufal, Aguirre, Zuma, Cresswell at left back. Okay. James Ward-Prowse, Souček, Bowen, Paquetá, Antonio. And she's put, I don't think he will start Kudus. I think he will have heard the fans saying he should. And for that reason, he won't. Yeah, probably. Budgie's gone. Areola, Kufal, Aguirre, Zuma, Cresswell, JWP, Souček, Paquetá, Bowen, Antonio, Benrahma. No Alvarez. Ooh, no Alvarez. Interesting. Happy comes in. I'm worried about losing Alvarez and Paquetá for Brentford next week. That will be an awful game. And then Happy's asking Budgie, do you think he will leave Alvarez out? Interesting. So we don't risk losing both for Brentford. Yep, fair enough. And that's exactly what he thought. He confirms. We've just seen that Souček and JWP together in midfield, and it was a shambles. Yes, it was. Budgie, I get it. Moyes only concentrates on the game in hand, apparently. Maybe even 4 nows for Paquetá. Not happening, I don't think. I'd be surprised to see that, mate. I really would. We ain't throwing another match, and the five key players we attempted to rest in Greece will all start, very probably. Okay, right. So now we move on to the last little bit, and this is, what is your score predictions? Again, I need your input in this, guys. So please do. I think tomorrow's going to be a really tough watch. I think that the way that the Everton play under their manager, his style, if you will, it gets results, here and there, and it might be enough to keep them up. Who knows? We'll wait and see. But I think that for that reason, it's going to be a tough watch. It's going to be interesting in some ways because obviously David Moyes usually likes to set his team up to play on the counter. I'm not entirely sure he's going to be able to play on the counter tomorrow. I really don't. I think that he's going to have to set up a little bit more to play a little bit more on the front foot. Probably not as much as I'd like to see him play, regrettably. But I think that tomorrow's really all about the result. I'm very much, and I've said this before, is it all about the result? Not all the time. For me, I think there needs to be balance. I think that you do, you would tolerate crap football to an extent if you were winning games and if you were therefore winning trophies off of the back of it. Where you have a problem is when those results start to peter out. And when those results start to peter out, not only have you got the problem that you're not winning games, but, the entertainment factor comes in. People go to football, people go to Premier League football, and they pay a lot of money for the privilege to do so. And, people work hard, they have hard jobs, they have hard lives, and they want to come and be entertained. So for me, it is a balance. It's style, but it's also results, and they have to be balanced. They have to be factored in. Be an interesting one. I think that it could be two teams that could sort of cancel each other out to a large degree. My heart says 2-1 West Ham. My head says it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I just think that, like I say, we're not in a good place right now. I'm not saying they're in a great place, but I think maybe they're catching us at the right time. I think there'll be, and it's sometimes an interesting one when you get a situation that happens and someone passes on that's connected with the club. Sometimes it can galvanize the team and spur them on and inspire them to achieve a result that you didn't really expect. But sometimes the emotional burden can sometimes be something that hinders your performance. I don't know what we're going to see tomorrow as a result of the death of Bill Kenwright. I think that there will obviously be players that knew him well, the likes of Seamus Coleman, the likes of Jordan Pickford. These players will have been at the club for quite a while, and they will have known the late Bill Kenwright very well, and that even the players that didn't know him so well, they'll try and sort of get across to them what he meant to the club. And I do wonder whether that might be a galvanizing factor for them, and it might be a little bit of an obstacle that we have to overcome. So I think tomorrow's probably going to be a 1-1 draw, sadly. Let's have a little look and see what you guys are saying. Where are we going? Where are we going? So Happy says 4-0 with her heart. His head says 2-1. Well, both of them are wins, so I'm happy with that. Budgie says, realistically, I'm going for a win by 1 goal, 2-1. Martin says 2-0. Bowen and Socek. Budgie goes on to say Bowen and JWP. 100% Gramps, it's a hard slog affording to go and travelling and miserable when we don't show up. That is absolutely true. The Courier's class, he will score tomorrow. Yeah, he's a good player, but I don't know. I think he flatters to deceive sometimes. But anyway, that's me done. I'm going to knock it on the head there. Budgie's just come in with a little comment there. I'm going to knock it on the head. Guys, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And as we always like to implore you to do, please don't forget to drop a like on the stream and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And don't forget to put a comment on there. Share this to your social media platforms. Recommend us to your friends, your West Ham friends. Even if they're not West Ham fans, recommend them. Even if they're not into football, I don't care. They can sort of join in. It's not a problem. We're a good crowd here. Hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. Click all. As always, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. Guys, I'm going to disappear. Don't forget, Iron supporting food banks. We'll see you the next time. Take care. Come on, you Irons. The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron supporting food banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.